victims. She'd always hated the nightmares. She dreaded them. But this was so much harder. This particular vision had been far more vivid than any of the others, much too real. What if they were getting worse? If she had not been pulled out of the vision in time, would she have drowned with the others? Would she have died on the trail that had, until a short time ago, been such a place of peace? As with the other instances, she would go back to the house, sit at her computer and try to piece together when and where the disaster was happening, or had already happened. In her heart, she knew that once again she would be too late. Her true curse was that she was always too late. Being keeper of the Raintree sanctuary, this blessed land that was so special and necessary to her family, her clan, had not been her idea, but she'd done her best to embrace the assignment. She'd left the band she'd loved and quit her waitress job. She didn't miss the job, but she did miss the band and the girl she'd played with. Most of all, she missed Sherry, her friend and roommate, a pretty good drummer who'd died in her place. Sherry had been murdered by a psycho Ansara soldier who'd thought she was killing Echo Raintree. A lot had happened 6 years ago, when the Ansara had attempted to take on the Raintree clan. Changes, upheaval, the beginning of a new era. The end of the evil leadership of the Ansara clan. The beginning of the new Rainsara clan, with Mercy, Echo's cousin, the previous keeper of this sanctuary, at the helm with her husband. At the time, getting away from it all had seemed like a good enough idea. Someday she could almost forget that the idea hadn't been hers. Even though she had initially argued a bit, she'd never been a fan of being told what to do. She'd thought being here, living in this safe place, would help her learn to control her ability. Being honest with herself, she admitted that her control wasn't just poor, it was non-existent. Instead of learning, she was getting worse. The Raintree clan was by far the most successful and powerful in the magical world most people had no idea existed. There were other clans, other groups held together by blood and by bond, but none were as old or as organized as the Raintree. Echo's cousin Dante was Draenir, leader of the Raintree clan. With her husband Judah, cousin Mercy led the closely affiliated Rainsara clan. Gideon was always there to help his siblings, if help was needed. That branch of the family was all amazingly powerful. Why couldn't she control fire or lightning, or heal the sick and wounded? Why was this her so-called gift? Echo jogged back to the house, breathless and hurting, her knees knocking. It was always possible that this time was different. Maybe she wasn't too late. By the time she pieced together the clues, the story was on the newsfeed. Russian ship sinks. Search for survivors underway. Echo's heart dropped. Tears filled her eyes, blurring the words on the computer screen. "There are no survivors," she whispered to the screen. And then, without a second thought, she wiped away her tears, snagged her cell phone off the desk, and thumbed her way to the contacts list. Her cousin picked up on the second ring. "Hi, Echo. What's up?" Gideon sounded cheerful. He was so happy with his life. Too bad she was about to ruin his day. "Are you busy?" she asked, as if this were an ordinary call. Her heart pounded. Her breath caught in her throat as she suffered second thoughts. This was her family, after all. She loved them. They loved her. She would do anything not to hurt them, or cause them distress. Almost anything. "I have a few minutes," Gideon said. "Everything okay there?" She probably should have called Dante directly, since this was about to be his problem. But she was closer to Gideon. They lived in close proximity and had for years. He was the one she always turned to in times of trouble. Gideon was only a dozen years older than she was, but he was more of a father to her than her real father had ever been. Half the time she never knew where her parents were, and she had learned long ago not to bother them with her troubles. They didn't like it. Her troubles put a damper on their fun. Besides, cousin or not,